friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Thank you for joining me. I am playing with some stamp sets and a stencil that I got from the Hedgehog Hollow. And I got this, it's like a milk chocolate or a hot chocolate mix from a Crop and Create event I went to. And I am regifting it to my daughter because she loves hot chocolate and I can't have dairy. So I'm going to make some tags because it's that time of year for me. I love to start making Christmas tags around now. I have to mail a lot of gifts out to people, so I want to get those in the mail. So I decided that I'm using the manila tags from Maker Forte, and you probably have some tags in your stash. Now these are pretty good sized tags. So I pulled out the 4 little snowflake stamps from the larger of the 2 stamp sets that I'm using, and I'm just inking them in clear ink on those tags. And I'm going to do this to both of them, but I'll do one tag at a time so that the ink doesn't dry. And pardon my head, I don't know why so much of me is in there. I'm going to use white embossing powder, and then I heat set that, and I'm going to go ahead and sponge ink onto the tags. One tag is getting telephone box red, and I'm not doing anything fancy like ombre or anything like that. I just want a red tag and a green tag. So the second tag will get the Everglades green. Once I had those done, I spritzed them with some water using my Mr. Perfect, the PhD size, which I love. That 8-ounce bottle, the water lasts forever in there. I love it. I do a lot of techniques with water, so it's kind of nice to have. So I spritzed it, and then I dabbed off the water. You can see it leaves some splotches behind. Not enough. I wanted more splotches. I did use my microfiber cloth to buff the ink off the white embossing. Now you can also I'm going to pull out, you can use this Distress Resist spray before you ink it up. Spritz those with that Distress Resist spray, let it dry, and then do the inking, and you'll get what looks like small snowfall behind that, and it's really kind of fun. It works best on white paper, but it would work just fine on the manila also, the manila tags. But it'll give you even more of a snowfall look. It'll just be like smaller snow off in the distance. So I've got some black ink spray and some white ink spray, and I never spray them. I use them to splatter, and you can see how I'm doing that. So I'm going to do this with both the white and the black, and I'm going to put those aside to dry. And while they're drying, I went ahead and stamped the snowman and cup image from the smaller of the 2 stamp sets, and I stamped the snowman twice and the cup twice, once in green and once in red. And then I pulled out a bunch of red markers, and I'm just coloring in the scarf, and I'm using R39, R35, R24, and R21. And I'm using a couple of oranges, YR18 and YR15, I believe. And I'm using BV000 to add some, just a little bit of shading to the snowman. And I'm kind of trying to like flick the marker like in a sort of a tiny little curved flicks toward the center of the circle. And that's just going to give it a little bit of dimension. Then I pull out the BV40 and just like soften the edges of those lines. Once I got everything colored, I actually fussy cut it all out, cut down the sentiments, and kind of put the tags together the way I thought I might want them, but I decided they needed snowbanks. So I just cut a piece of white cardstock, and then along the edges I just flicked some more of that BV000 just to give a little bit of shading to the top edge of that snowbank. It just makes it look more realistic and almost more dimensional. So I just flicked it lightly. You can barely see it, but it's one of those little details that does make a difference. So I'm really struggling with this applicator today. The little applicator, like plastic thing that covers the tip when I'm not using it, actually split. So I'm going to have to keep a pin in the end of my applicator now. So I just removed it and got rid of that problem. I do love these tiny little applicator tips though. They're sometimes a hassle, and you do have to make sure they stay closed, but they are nice to use. So I'm going to put that snowbank on. I'm going to trim it down to the size of the tag, and then I will put some foam behind my snowman and the cup and give the tag a little bit more dimension that way also. Now, I didn't add any embellishments at all to these tags, and you can add embellishments. You've got crown jewel gems from previous kits. Like, definitely add some of those if you want to. I just didn't today. I just had a lot of projects to do and felt like I needed to move on to the next project. So I'm putting the snowman down, and I'm going to add a little of that BV 000 right below him, just to give some shadow below him, and I'll add some to underneath the cup as well. But that will help make it look like it's not floating in air. I decided to add a little black mat behind the two sentiments, so I pulled out a piece of black scrap paper. Like, perfect ways to use up the scrap papers that you have. I keep mine in a little plastic bin right next to me on the floor by my foot, so I'm always using my scrap paper up. I just hate to waste any little bits. So I trim these down, and I put the red one together just like I put the green one together. And after I'm all done, I do add some black twine with a bow through the tag holes, because I just don't like to not have twine or ribbon or something. So that's going to finish those two off. And I have a third tag I want to show you. I wanted to create a larger tag, because sometimes I like to give like really nice bottles of like cooking oils, like special mixes, or every now and then we'll give a bottle of wine if we go somewhere. So I like to have some bigger tags, and I'm going to show you a really simple way to do this. I'm using one of the stencils that says "Let It Snow," and it's got a snowflake where the O is. And I decided that I want to add a foil detail to this. And I'm sure you have winter stencils in your stash. Like, this is a perfect way to use them. This just happens to be a vertical one. So I pulled out the Thermoweb Deco foil transfer gel duo, and I'm spreading that with my palette knife through the stencil. I'm just doing this on the slimline card bases that came in. These are like the mini slimline, I forget what she called them, but they came in the November Hedgehog Hollow kit, and I'm using those for tags. And I will pull this off, and I am immediately going to go clean that stencil, and I'm going to let that sit for at least an hour, and then I'll carefully come back and check it. So once it's dry, you can put your foil on it. And this foil is from Maker Forte, and it might have actually come in a kit or something, I don't remember, but I saved it for something special. So Christmas tags are very special. So I'm just trimming it down, and I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine, and just through the plates, so that'll apply enough pressure to that foil to get it to stick to that transfer gel, that nice dry, kind of sticky transfer gel. So I'll just send that through, and this is so simple to do. And you can use the Thermoweb foils for this, like any kind of foil that you have. Decorative foil works actually. So, and then you can just peel it off, and I always test it a little bit, peek at it, and it looks good. I love the prism effect of this. And I'm removing some of the extra bits that got on my paper with a Tombow Mono sanded eraser. That was a trick I got from a viewer. Thank you very much. This is a tip I've been using because I started hot foiling too. Of course, I'm hooked on that. And I didn't know anything about it when I started. And thankfully, people have been giving advice. So I'm going to let this sit. And I'm pulling out some blue shades. And I'm going to go ahead. I've got Chip Sapphire, Blueprint Sketch, and Salty Ocean, and I am actually going to try to avoid the foil, but if I get the ink on the foil, it doesn't matter. I'm going to take that same cloth that I used to buff the embossed pieces, and I will just buff any ink I get on the foil, because the foil is pretty slippery and the ink just sits on the top. It doesn't absorb into the ink. I tested it on the little piece at the top to see what would happen. And I am a person who I keep blending till I get a blend I love. So while I have some, like there's at least one fingerprint in there, and there are a couple of the circular lines, but they'll go away. You just keep blending till you're happy with the blend. That's how blending works. Like, don't stop before it's done. That's a Seth Apter thing. Like, one more layer. Always do one more layer. That's what he says. So you can never have too many layers. So now I'm blending on the Chip Sapphire. I started with the Chip Sapphire around the edge. I want the edges to be dark and the center to be light. So I started with the Chip Sapphire. Now I'm adding the Blueprint Sketch. And I go back and forth between my foams with the different inks just to keep blending the edge between the two colors. And I left the center pretty open, and I'm using the Salty Ocean because I kind of wanted it to be bright. Like, I wanted the center to be bright. And right now it looks like a hot mess, but I'm not done. I'm going to keep blending till I love it. And I keep pulling in the other foams so that I can blend the edges. Like here, I'm blending the edge of the Salty Ocean and the Blueprint Sketch. And I get it the way I like it. And then I can blend the Chip Sapphire and the Blueprint Sketch a little bit. And I am adding a little bit more Chip Sapphire around the edge because I really like the edges to be dark. Sometimes I pull out the black soot and do that with the black. And by the way, the Maker Forte Eclipse Black ink blends beautifully. So do not hesitate to use that to give yourself dark edges to your cardstock if you want to. And I'm just spritzing this with water from my Mr. Perfect and wiping it away because I can do that. It's that easy. These are dye-based inks and they clean up nicely. So all I'm going to do now is buff the foil, and you can see how much it brightens the foil. And I do have a little smudge of the paste down at the bottom, which I didn't notice before I ink blended, but I'm not going to worry about that. If that bothers you, then you can either trim the panel down or you can put some embellishments over it, or maybe you put a nice bow there, or your to from sentiment or something like that. Now I'm punching holes here, and I'm going to tie a piece of baker's twine and just create my tag. And to finish these off, I am going to put some pretty Christmas paper on the back, and you can also edge this piece if you have some nice die edgers or punches that make pretty edges. And I kept this simple. Like, I'll just tie it tighter over whatever I attach it to in the end, but I know I'm going to finish off the backs of these later and when I'm ready to use them. And that completes my 3 tags. Thank you so much for watching, friends. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Have a wonderful day.